You guys will never find happiness. The image of her laughing face flashes through my mind. That won't happen to us. Kyle, our baby, and I will be happy together. With that determination, I gave birth to our child. Sorry. I'm late. It was 5 hours after giving birth. Just seeing him rush in with a flustered look somehow made me feel relieved. Thank you. This is our daughter, I said, showing our child to Kyle. I thought he would be overjoyed. However, his reaction was far from what I had expected. What? No way. Kyle? Contrary to my expectations, he started trembling. What on earth? What's wrong? Did something happen? He murmured. Seeing him like that, I was puzzled. Then I realized his gaze wasn't on me or our daughter. Kyle? What are you looking at? His sixth sense was showing him something. When I asked him that, he opened his heavy mouth to explain, actually. I was shocked by his words. My name is Carrie. I'm a 26-year-old part-time engineer and housewife. I was born in my hometown as the youngest child, pampered by those around me. Of course, I was scolded when I did something wrong, and I believe I grew up as a normal woman. Carrie was always smiling and never caused any trouble. My mom often said that about me. I've been smiling since I was little, keeping myself content. While my brothers caused a lot of fuss every day, I was easy to care for. When I first heard this, I didn't think much of it, but when I became a working adult. You're the new hire from the other day, right? Would you like to talk for a bit? I met Kyle, who would become my husband, and learned the truth. I don't think you'll easily believe this, but actually, I have a sixth sense. According to him, our ancestors always watched over me, smiling. That's why he thought I was a wonderful person loved by my ancestors and approached me. Honestly, I couldn't believe in spirits. But his serious expression didn't seem like he was lying. Maybe those ancestors were keeping me happy when I was little. When I shared what my mom had told me, he smiled and said, "They are good ancestors." As we talked, we grew closer. Would you be my girlfriend, Carrie, if you're okay with it? Eventually, he confessed, and we started dating. His sixth sense was real. He would often look at empty spaces and seem scared. When I'm with you, bad things don't come near, so I feel safe. According to him, our ancestors protect us from bad things. So we have peaceful times together. Being with you makes me feel happy too. Then, how about we get married? And so, we decided to get married. My parents liked him, and we were living a peaceful married life. We're happy now, but it was tough before we got married. My dad's fine, but my sister is a handful. According to Kyle, his sister Maya is a difficult person. His dad had always listened to him seriously and supported him. But his sister, doted on by their mom, was different. Apparently, she always thought she was right and had to be number one. I've never gotten along with her and pretty much left home because of her. Maya doesn't believe in anything supernatural and always calls Kyle a liar. So, they were like cats and dogs. Mom always spoiled her. Their mother, who has already passed away, doted on Maya. She spoiled her without any discipline. Growing up like that, she became selfish, and even their dad had trouble with her. She looks down on me and might say something awful to you, Carrie. It's okay. I won't let it bother me. I said that to him, but I was a bit worried. I'd never had anyone like that around me. Sure, some people said bad things, but I kept my distance from them. But this time, it's family, so I can't avoid it. Honestly, my sister and I are pretty distant, so you don't have to force yourself to get along with her. Sensing my feelings, he said gently. His words and smile reassured me. With such a kind person by my side, I thought everything would be fine. Then came the day to meet his family. I nervously visited his parents' house. You seem like a nice young lady. Please take care of Kyle. His father, a kind-looking man, warmly welcomed me. Relieved by his gentle demeanor similar to Kyle's, I heard a voice. Why is Kyle here? A woman appeared before us. Seeing her, Kyle's smiling face turned into one of disgust. What are you doing here? You weren't supposed to be here today. It's none of your business. From their exchange, I realized she was the infamous sister. Aren't you supposed to be out shopping? I realized I didn't have any cash. Dad, can I have some money? Kyle's sister, clearly an adult. She was still asking for allowance. Internally cringing, I noticed her gaze turn to me. Who is she? My fiancé. What? You're getting married? Seeing her eyes widen in shock, I hurriedly introduced myself. She scrutinized me and then burst out laughing. You look so plain. Kyle, you really have bad taste. I froze, not expecting such a reaction. How rude. Carrie, let's go. Kyle pulled my arm as I stood there, unable to respond. Then, as we left the in-laws' house, Maya giggled, saying they ran away, while her father scolded her. I'm really sorry about my sister. As soon as we got back to our place, Kyle kept apologizing to me. Don't apologize so much. I was just a little surprised. When I said that, he looked relieved. But his expression still showed some fatigue. Kyle, what's wrong? Actually, he explained that he had seen their mother behind his sister. She had been constantly saying, "Sweet Maya," and "a useless son." I understood why his mood had turned sour. That must have been tough. Why don't you rest today? Thank you, Carrie. With that, he went into the bedroom. Watching him, I realized how exhausted he was. Even so, treating siblings so differently. When I heard his story, I found it hard to believe. My parents had always loved my siblings and me equally, and I never felt any favoritism. So, I couldn't imagine someone changing their attitude just because one was the sister and the other the brother. But I can give Kyle all the love his mom didn't. I decided to love him even more than before. A while after the introductions. Having met each other's families, we were busy preparing for the wedding. But we couldn't neglect our jobs. So, I was busy at work too. Hey, you. Huh? On my way to a meeting, I was stopped by a voice. It was Kyle's sister. I was shocked to see her at the same company, and I froze again. Seeing me, she smirked. So, you work here. Thank you for the other day. The meeting time was approaching, but I couldn't leave without greeting her. So, I gave a minimum greeting and tried to walk away. What a waste of time. And to think you're with the client. Internally, I was thinking, are you kidding me? Apparently, she was from the company we were meeting with. Good to know. Looking forward to working with you. Yes, likewise. I managed to respond and headed to the meeting room, listening to her brag about how great she was. But her expression would change in the meeting. I'm counting on you, Carrie. I've heard good things. Happy to work with you. My boss Mason and her boss both expressed their expectations for me. Normally, I'd give my best effort, but her glare and calling me dull made it hard to be genuinely happy. Then, her boss sighed deeply. You should learn from her. The look she gave me after that was chilling. It was clear she didn't like me and was full of hostility. Facing that for the first time, I was at a loss for words. Is something wrong? No, it's nothing. I replied to Mason and turned my gaze back to her. She wasn't looking at me anymore. But I couldn't shake off the chill. What? My sister works at your company? I immediately told Kyle about it. He hadn't known she was with the client either. Looking surprised, he gazed at me with concern. Are you okay? Your health, I mean. I felt a chill earlier, but I'm fine now. According to him, their mother, who was attached to his sister, had deemed me an enemy. However, my ancestors had interfered. Carrie, let's talk to Mason. We don't know what my sister might do. I nodded, and we consulted Mason about her. We didn't mention Kyle's visions, just that she was family. And that Kyle was estranged from her. I see. Carrie, you're essential for this client deal. I'll discuss this with them. For this deal, the app one developed was crucial. So, I had to be involved. Meanwhile, Kyle's sister had forced her way into the meeting with her boss. She had insisted, I will make this successful, but her attitude was unacceptable. Her boss had been considering removing her from the project. As a result, she was taken off the project, deepening the rift between us. I'll never forgive you. Angry about the situation, she tried to harass us. Enough already. Not only did her father scold her, but he finally kicked her out of their house. She had to quickly find a new place, leaving her with no time to bother us. I'll never bless your marriage, and you two will never be happy. But she wasn't one to give up easily. Just before being kicked out, she laughed and said that. Her words gave me a bad feeling. Don't worry about her. I'll make you happy. And so, we got married. Contrary to her words, we were living a happy life. Then, it happened. Congratulations. I was pregnant. When I told Kyle, my parents, and his father, everyone was overjoyed. I was thrilled too, but it was tough. I had severe morning sickness, and the baby was in a breech position. I faced many challenges, but I was determined to give birth. Kyle usually supported me, but he kept apologizing. I'm so sorry. Don't worry. Just focus on work for both of us. He was busy, trying to cover for my absence. So, I couldn't rely on him much. Ideally, I'd turn to my parents, but living in a rural area made visiting difficult. Could it be? My mind flashed back to Kyle's sister's words. Could she have cursed me? No, that can't be. While I understand the spiritual side due to Kyle, I can't believe in curses. Even if there is a curse, I won't let it win. I murmured with determination, rubbing my belly. Perhaps because of that declaration, my child continued to grow healthily. Then, the day finally came. You can do it. The birth was extremely difficult. No matter how many hours passed, our baby wouldn't come out. I gritted my teeth to stay conscious. You guys will never be happy. Her laughing face flashed through my mind. That won't happen. Kyle, our baby, and I will find happiness together. With that thought, I gave birth with all my might. Sorry. I'm late. 5 hours after giving birth. Just seeing him rush and made me feel relieved. Thank you for being here. This is our daughter. I showed our baby to Kyle. I thought he'd be overjoyed. But his reaction was completely different from what I expected. What? No way. Kyle? Contrary to my expectations, he started trembling. What on earth? What's wrong? Did something happen? He murmured. Seeing him like that, I was puzzled. Then I realized his gaze wasn't on me or our daughter. Kyle? What are you looking at? His sixth sense was showing him something. When I asked him that, he opened his heavy mouth to explain, actually. His words shocked me. Actually, Mom was here just a moment ago. Apparently, his mother was trying to possess our newborn daughter. She had said, I don't want the child of someone who makes Maya suffer. Kyle had no ability to exorcise spirits. So he could only tremble in fear. Then, Dad appeared. I was surprised at his words. He meant his father. Who is still alive. That's why I thought it was strange for him to appear. His father had made the spirit of his mother disappear. Kyle had murmured, what on earth? We may not know the truth, but let's just be happy about our daughter's birth. He said, gazing lovingly at our daughter. His face was filled with affection. Seeing him genuinely happy about her birth made me smile too. And the next day. Kyle? What's wrong? Kyle's face was pale when he came to the hospital room. His demeanor was completely different from yesterday, and I hurriedly asked. Dad was in a car accident yesterday. What? The kind father-in-law? He had been eagerly waiting to hold our daughter. And now, a car accident? How bad are his injuries? When I asked, he shook his head. He didn't make it. Those words made my mind go blank. According to Kyle, his father had been hit and run over, and by the time a passerby found him, he had already passed away. It happened just before I gave birth, while I was in labor. Dad must have been the one who helped us then. That could be true. Given how kind he was. He was probably watching over us. Just when his mother appeared, trying to harm our daughter. Your dad protected us. Kyle nodded with a tearful expression. His pain was undoubtedly greater than I could imagine. Dad protected us. Now, it's my turn to protect you too. He hugged me and our daughter. He looked determined, his gaze fixed above me. He might have been seeing something I couldn't. Kyle? Your ancestors are telling me many things. It's time to settle things with my sister. Why did he bring up his sister? I found out the reason a few months later. After that, we returned home without any major issues. Welcome home, Carrie, Kayla. Kyle warmly welcomed us. Kayla is our daughter's name. It's derived from the sound of Kyle's name and a character from mine. Our precious, beloved daughter. If there was anyone trying to harm her, we would face them head-on. As we watched our peacefully sleeping Kayla, I made up my mind. Shall we go? Yes, let's go. We left Kayla with my parents for a short while and went to a certain place. What? Why are you here? We visited the company where Kyle's sister worked. We had previously obtained permission from the client and arranged to use a meeting room for a discussion. What do you want? Our baby was born recently. Already looking annoyed, her expression twisted even more. So I failed. So what? You tried to harm our daughter to get back at us, didn't you? Kyle's cold words made his sister's shoulders tremble. He must have hit the mark. She had always been proud and couldn't stand not being the best. Feeling that I had hurt her pride, she had schemed to harm our precious Kayla. You mistakenly thought Carrie undermined you, so you tried to take Kayla away. But Dad stopped you. Even after kicking her out, their father had kept an eye on her. Realizing she was planning to harm me and Kayla, he intervened and tried to persuade her to stop. When you saw Dad as an obstacle, you hit him with your car, didn't you? Hoping to get an inheritance too. At these words, she flinched. The day their father had the accident. He had confronted her outside the company, telling her to stay away from them and to stop your foolish actions. Enraged, she had hit him with her car on his way home. You know I have a sixth sense, right? Dad told me everything. After hearing from his father, Kyle realized he couldn't reveal his sister's crime without evidence. While I was in the hospital, he had been investigating. It was hard to find proof, but I got something from a dash cam. What did you get? A recording of Dad walking and your car speeding toward him. Even though the police couldn't find it, his determination paid off. He showed her a copy of the evidence. She looked down, then muttered, "This is the worst. Why do you and Dad always get in my way?" She then gave us an irritated look. Mom always listened to me, but you two kept interfering. Of course, we did. Facing her glare, Kyle began to share his long-held feelings. You took Mom's words, "The world is yours," literally, and did whatever you wanted. As a child, she always took toys from others. In school, she caused trouble by going after other people's boyfriends. Their father had to clean up her messes. Because of you, I've always been the selfish girl's brother. And you spread rumors that I was a liar because of my sixth sense. You've always been the one causing trouble. But unlike you, I only had Mom on my side. That's your own fault. Nobody wants to be close to a selfish person. Especially one who causes them trouble. Even so, Dad tried to take responsibility for you until the end. Now that he's gone, you'll have to take responsibility for yourself. He said, glaring at her. She glared back, but there was fear in her eyes. It's all your fault. If Dad hadn't interfered. He did what any father would. By the way, what were you doing during his funeral? His funeral had taken place while I was still in the hospital. I had paid my respects later, but she hadn't shown up at all. That's none of your business. You're right. It's no longer my business. His words shocked her. You're no longer my sister. Ignoring her, Kyle stated this firmly. She was later arrested for her involvement in their father's death. She resisted arrest, which could add charges of obstructing justice. Let's cut all ties with her now. Kyle's words led us to cut ties with his sister, Maya. Are you sure? She's your only sibling. My family is you, Carrie, and Kayla. He smiled as he said that. Indeed, he wasn't alone. However, there was something else on my mind. She won't try to come after Kayla and me again, will she? Don't worry. She can't do anything on her own. Until now, their parents had protected her in their own ways. His mother had been devoted to taking care of her, ensuring she was looked after even after her death. His father, despite his anger, couldn't abandon her and had always helped her. Without them, she was struggling to manage on her own. So, as long as we keep our distance, we'll be fine. She was fired because of this incident. Her reputation at the company had already been poor. Apparently, she was known for taking credit for her subordinates' work and using insulting words and behavior. As a result, no one defended her, and she was dismissed. After that, we decided to transfer. The app one developed was a big success, leading to the opening of a new branch. I was appointed as the branch manager, and Kyle would join as my assistant after my maternity leave. I never expected it to be near my hometown. This meant I could easily rely on my parents. I'm excited to raise Kayla with everyone. I'm excited too. Kyle looked relieved. Being freed from Maya seemed to have lifted a weight off his shoulders. By the way, what were my ancestors doing? They're here to protect you, and Dad was there too. Even his mother couldn't overpower his father. Thanks to that, Kayla was born safely. However, it led to Maya taking matters into her own hands with tragic results. We owe your father so much. Recently, we found Kyle's father's will. He might have sensed something. The will stated that Maya would not inherit anything. His assets were to be used for Kayla's future. That was what was written. Now we need to protect Kayla. Yes, we do. I believe Kyle's father is watching over her growth. To reassure him, we vowed to protect her ourselves. I made that promise with Kyle as well. Later, Maya received a prison sentence. Her story made the news as the daughter who hit and ran over her father. She has no place to go now. Even after being released, her face would be known everywhere. Additionally, their family home was being sold. Our whereabouts were kept secret, so we could focus on raising Kayla. While watching the news, I heard Kayla's cry. Smiling, I headed towards her. Carrie, did you see the news? Yes, I saw it. Kyle spoke to me while holding Kayla. Apparently, a letter came to the company from her. What? Really? Yeah. They sent it to me just to keep me informed. The letter apparently said, I'm reflecting on my actions, and please help me. He read it and then tore it up. After causing so much trouble and hurting people, it's absurd to think she'd be helped. I nodded at his words. A few years later. While watching Kayla grow up healthily, Kyle and I continued to manage our work. Mommy, guess what? What is it, Kayla? Grandpa said thank you. I tilted my head at her words. She calls her grandfather, my father-in-law, Grandpa. But it felt like a different pronunciation, and I wondered if my father would send such a message. Kayla, where is this Grandpa? When I asked, she pointed to an empty space and said, there. I recalled what my mother and Kyle had told me. Kayla is just like you, Carrie. Just as I was looked after by our ancestors. Kyle's father must be watching over Kayla. Thank you very much. Mommy? Let's have a snack now. She smiled and responded cheerfully. Her smile was always a comfort to me. So, Dad is still watching over us. When I told Kyle, who had just come home, he spoke with a deep sense of emotion. Let's visit him together soon. I nodded with a smile. Kayla also responded with a cheerful yes. A few days later. During a long weekend, we visited the place where Kyle's family home used to be. Oh. Suddenly, Kyle's gaze was fixed in one direction. Following his gaze, I saw a worn-out woman staggering along. I thought I recognized her. Could it be Maya? Probably. He answered while looking away. He quickly lost interest. And turned his attention back to Kayla, lifting her with a smile. I glanced back at her before following him. Later, a former colleague confirmed that the woman was indeed Maya. She's juggling multiple part-time jobs, barely making ends meet. She must be struggling a lot. I remembered her looking much older than her actual age and felt a slight pang of sympathy. Kyle might say, there's no room for sympathy. Curses, like chickens, come home to roost. Maybe she's facing her own consequences now. Her misfortune will likely continue. That would be her punishment. A while later, a former colleague told me she got arrested for theft. I need to forget about her. I'll forget about Maya and devote myself to being happy with my own family. That's what Kyle's father would want. Now, it's time to work hard. As the branch manager, I had many responsibilities. Even though Kyle supported me as my assistant, I needed to put in the effort myself. And I want to create a new app too. I envisioned a game that even young children could play. I might have less time to spend with Kayla in the future. But if she played an app one created, it would feel like we had a connection. That's why I wanted to do it. That's a great idea. Let me help. It's a gift for Kayla, after all. Kyle's smile showed he was completely at peace. Not wanting to fall behind, I decided to work hard too. Eventually, the app we created became a global sensation. I love this game. Kayla told us that with a beaming smile. It made us truly happy as well. Our hard work was recognized, and we were both promoted. Cutting ties must have been the right move. Everything's going so well. It's the result of our hard work. You're right. We started our journey together to find happiness. Several years later, I was busy with my duties as a branch manager. Mom, Grandpa says don't overdo it. Okay, sweetie. Thank you. Kayla could still see her grandfather, just like Kyle could. She might have inherited that ability from him. But he never appears to me anymore. Kyle only saw his father on the day Kayla was born. Maybe he's shy. Maybe. Or he mentioned that after his mother's death, her spirit frightened him. Perhaps his father knew this and chose not to appear to him. I'd like to see him too. As I said this, a breeze passed between us. It felt like a reassurance that he was still watching over us. Mom. Dad. Hurry up. Coming. We smiled and went to our daughter, who was calling us with a big smile. Kayla is such a lively girl. Yes, she's enjoying her time with us. She'll be a big sister soon. We exchanged looks. Later, a visit to the doctor confirmed I was pregnant with our second child. We promised anew to be happy together with this new life joining us.